Hey there, toy collector friends and Doctor Who fans in particular. Welcome back to the channel. This is the Time Travelling Toy Collector, and this is the fourth instalment of our perusal of the Parliament of the Daleks first box set from Hero Collector. And this time we're looking at the next two entries chronologically into that set. So without further ado, let's go straight into the product. I'm very mindful to get it up because there's a lot to say about this one. This is one of, perhaps for me, the most well crafted and well detailed of the Daleks in the set. It is from, as you can see from the reverse of the box, they're all again individually packaged, as you know if you've been following this series. It's number 39 from the original version of the figurine collection, and it's the Genesis Dalek from the Tom Baker series, Genesis of the Daleks, part of his first season. There's the decal on the bottom there. I really like this one. I'm going to pop him there and pull the camera out slightly because I'm conscious of the glare that you're getting. I want to be able to take him in hand and bring him a little closer to the camera anyway. So let's see if this is a bit better to maneuver with. Yeah, I have a real appreciation for this figure. And again, this is kind of what I want this series to be about. It's about appreciating the work that Hero Collector have done on these. And if we sort of remove that cardboard packaging, keeping it still within its shell to keep it nice and safe and dust-free, we can see a bit more clearly. I'm trying to avoid some of the lighting. A bit more clearly just how good this paintwork and this paint job and this model job actually is. Again, it's quite well protected, as all the individual Daleks have been in this series. But it really evokes the 1970s era for me, because it has that very straightforward, very standard colour scheme. It's got that very quintessentially Dalek structure, something that will look not quite so similarly when we look at the next two entries, where there are some variations on that standard design. But this is how I remember, even down to some of how the glare flares on the shell of the Dalek. It reminds me of the studio lights flaring on the shell of the Dalek. Not that I knew that back in the 70s, from the original TV series. It's a very basic kind of gunmetal grey with black highlights on the base of the skirt, on the gun, and on the manipulator arm. And of course the individual sensor globes are all black with the base of the same gunmetal grey. And the detailing of the middle section here, where there's the grille, isn't so much a grille as it is unilaterally painted the same, but those slats are still well detailed and still very clear to see. Similarly, the headpiece, the paint around the eye stalk, and the I never remember what to call them. They're not ears, but I'm going to kind of call them the ears. The illuminating segments that engage with the vocal circuitry of the Dalek. That's just me waffling, but you know, light up ears will probably suffice. They're not ears. However, I really think that the detailing around the head area, it's really well done, as indeed it tends to be. But the consistency of the paintwork, there have been some instances that I've had to sort of comment on in some of the previous Dalek models where there's a bit of splurge here and a bit of splurge there, and to be honest, there's a bit of that in the next one we're going to look at as well, unfortunately. But if you go back and look at that series, the Genesis of the Daleks, you will see it is almost like looking at a miniaturized version of that prop. Yes, there are some paint bleeds here. You can see to the bottom of the shot there that it's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. But again, I think perfection is one of those things that you weigh up how much you want something or appreciate something by how much you're prepared to tolerate its imperfections. And I really, I really like this. I've said in other videos, but for consistency, I'll stick with it. One of the reasons I don't go after the main range of the figurine collection is because I don't hold with all of the accuracy of the paintwork and the detailing. But where it's some of the monsters and robots, yeah, I think they achieve that far better than some of the humanoid figures. I wish they were better, because I probably would collect them. So perhaps I don't wish they were better. But I really do. I really do appreciate this model down to its proportions, its scale, even the centrality of the eye stalk pupil is pretty good here, and that again hasn't always been the case with some of the models from these Daleks. So for me, that one's a real win, and I shall pop it back in its case in the interest of keeping it safe. I do like this the way they've been individually packaged. I know this is the individual packaging that comes with the sorry for my elephantine fingers out of the way. It's the original packaging that came with the figures as they in their original release format, prior to them coming in the Parliament of the Daleks box set. But I think that sort of modular approach is really good. It helps you store them, and it helps you display them, and it helps you keep them safe. Now, I may at some point explore the idea of taking them out of these boxes semi-permanently, and trying some toy photography with them, maybe, just to do some experimentation. But I don't know. I'm in no rush to do that, if I'm perfectly honest. But yeah, I really like this one. But as we move this to one side, we bring in today's counterpart, which is the next Dalek on the production line from the Parliament. And this one appears in the 6th Doctor story, Revelation of the Daleks, and I'm saying that, let me double check I'm not making that up. Yep, Revelation of the Daleks, with their Colin Baker playing the 6th Doctor in an all too short run, if you ask my opinion. This was number 59 in the original run, and again this one it's a new take on the colour scheme. I think it was the first time we saw this variation of the colour scheme. I know it comes back again in the 7th Doctor story, the Remembrance of the Daleks, but it was very striking. It was sort of what I'm inclined to want to call imperial livery. Let's get the back piece off so we can have a good look at it and let the light through. As you heard me mention just now, there are a few, I'm afraid, and I have to be fair and flag these up in the interests of transparency. Some of the attention to the paint detailing here is not 100%. You can see the skirt; it's not a clean line at all. There's a bit of paint bleed. It looks like I've painted it, to be perfectly honest, which is, well, perhaps not quite as badly as if I painted it. It would be a lot worse. But both there, you can also see the globes, some of the base of the globes again suffers from some inconsistency in how they're painting that. So it's a bit of it feels a bit like a dollop of gold paint's been applied to the top, rather than it's a consistent approach to the replication of those sense globes. And similarly, while we're on the topic, the slats, aspects of the slats suffer from being a little bit untidy is the only word I can use, around the painting and keeping the paint in the edges. You can see this front slat here by the base of the manipulator arm, which is very nicely pulled out in gold paint with black detailing. There's a bit of a blodge there, and similarly, I think if I remember rightly, yeah, on this side it's a bit of a blodge there as well next to the gun arm, which is a shame. It's a shame, a little bit of an imperfection there on the casing. I don't think it's on the, yeah, no, it is on the actual model itself. So, getting those out of the way, that's my gripes about this one. And there's a couple of other imperfections down the base here, if you can see those. Just bring the pen into shot so you can see them there. So yeah, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. And again, the eye stalk is not too bad, but the end piece is a bit of a blotch job, and the pupils a little bit non-circular. I appreciate I'm being close up and mean, but I do need to do its degree of justice. Particularly if people are looking at this thinking, oh well, I'll watch that and see if I'm going to spend my money on it. I think it's important that you have a fair sense of what you will get for your money. Again, that said, I like it. I like the sculpt. I overall like the detailing. Again, yeah, the paint is probably a 6 out of 10 for me if I was being brutal. There's nothing pulling out the lighting of the earpieces. I know they're not earpieces. I really need to get the the name of those locked down. But what it does do well, is the evoking of that period, the evoking of the Dalek model from Revelation of the Daleks. And it's a weighty piece. It compares well to its counterpart pieces in the set. It is a shame about some of the paint working. It does slightly take the wind out of my sails about being excited about this particular model. The gold detailing is good. I'll tell you what it reminds me of. I only ever had one, and I've got it somewhere. And it's the old Dapol Dalek models. And there was one in this colour scheme. I think again it was based on the Remembrance of the Daleks, Imperial Daleks. But that's what it reminds me of. It's kind of right, but it kind of isn't. And anyone that's seen the Dapol Daleks know exactly what I'm talking about with that. So it is, nevertheless, it is a nice piece, and I think, as I said, I'll give you that sort of 360 to it. It's sort of one that it catches your eye because of the gold and the sort of cream detailing. So it does jump out at you. So if I were displaying them, I would probably have this one visible but to the back, so it didn't pull focus, and you didn't sort of start going, yeah, but it looks a little bit like someone's 4-year-old nephew or niece painted it. I am again being mean. I don't quite mean it that much, because I think it's overall, I think it's a nice piece. It's a worthy addition to the collection. I'm not sad that it's in there. I'm a bit sad that it's not as well detailed as some of the others, particularly when you put it up against the Genesis of the Daleks Dalek. Let me just pop this back on there. Is it the right way up? Yes. Slip it back into its case to give it that robust element of protection, I suppose we'd call it. I'll pop that on the stand there, and I'll bring back in the Genesis Dalek so you can see them both in shot. Again, generally speaking, the scale of all of these is the same. It's about that 7 or 8 centimeters in height. They do complement each other well. I think particularly because you have the darkness and the metallic quality of Scaro's finest in the original Dalek design. I mean that in terms of story telling, not on-screen appearance. And then, of course, we have the more recent interpretation of the old Pepper Pot Patrol in those very striking golden cream. And from a cursory look from someone who has these on display, possibly that paint bleed and the slight paint aberrations don't make too much difference. I think if you made it this one, if you made the Necros Dalek a centerpiece, it would be very noticeable that it's not quite the level of detailing that you would like, I think. But as part of the wider collection, it's a blemish that I think is, for me, is tolerable. And again, all I can do when showing you these things is show you what I appreciate around the figures or the models or the toys, and it's up to you as to whether or not you think they're within your levels of tolerance in terms of what you could put up with. I really like them. I'm really glad that they're in the set. I'm looking forward to the next two from the set, actually, because they are quite different. And then after that, we have 2 entries from the modern iteration of the series. And at that point, we've wrapped up Parliament of the Daleks Set 1. I do now have, I'm happy to say, Parliament of the Daleks set 2. So once we've finished going through these, we can take a look at that box set overall and see what that has to offer. But that's some way off in the future. In the meantime, I would just like to thank you for being a lovely audience and staying with me for the last 15 or 16 minutes. Hopefully, from looking at these, you've got some idea as to whether or not there's something that you'd like in your collection. That's entirely up to you, and only you really know. I personally quite like them. I like them for what they are, but I wouldn't want to collect the entire range, dare I say. Again, that said, I am having a little look at the Cyberman range now, because that's the unfortunate thing of being a little bit of a compulsive completist. Thinking, well, if I've got the Daleks and they are doing this evolution of the Cybermen ranges, well, maybe it's worth looking at those. So we'll see. That's by no means certain, and equally they don't have. They needed a third one, I think, at the point at which I'm recording this. They need a third one to bring us up to date with some of the cyber figures from the current TV series. So I think unless that's on the cards, I probably won't, because I'll be an incomplete completist, which is terribly frustrating, as some of you may sympathise with. Anyway, thank you very much once again for joining me for this. You've been fantastic. I've been the time travelling toy collector. These have been the Genesis Dalek from Genesis of the Cybermen, and a Necros Dalek from Revelation of the Daleks from the Hero Collector, in association with the BBC, Parliament of the Daleks box set 1. I look very much forward to seeing you in the future. Do keep safe, try not to get exterminated, and remember that a thing of beauty really is a toy forever. Take care.